Hey everybody. Okay, after the mobbing. What do you expect after a mobbing happens? Well, I'll tell you again. I can speak from my experiences, and that's what I'm going to do because I can't speak from yours. These are mine, and they're very honest. And I'll tell you, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. I'm going to talk about the whole concept of honesty and reality. All right. I don't want to get super philosophical. Yes, I'll dig back, tell you step by step. I kept a journal of a lot of this stuff. So even though I'm not feeling certain negative effects today, I did at the beginning, but there's still repercussions even today. And above and beyond the feeling that you're a targeted individual, something that I negated for a long time, but it is true. I am. And I own it because I'm targeted, not because I'm a bad person. I'm targeted because I'm a freaking honest person. Not perfect. I'll own who I am. Most people can't do that or don't do that. Don't look at themselves honestly. All right? So I'm going to talk about that whole honesty thing and what happens when you're an honest person, especially when you're honest with yourself and when you say it like you see it. Doesn't mean when you say it like you see it, you say it like it is, right? Because somebody will say, well, reality is just a series of perceptions, and my reality is different than yours, and your illusions are my reality, or vice versa. And you can get into this whole philosophical thing. So here we go. Yes, perceptions differ. Absolutely. But beyond perception is something called truth. There is an objective reality out there. I'll give you an example. So if all of a sudden you get diagnosed with an incurable illness, well, I know somebody very close to me who was, and he kept waiting to get better. So I told the person, I said, look, why don't you book that vacation you always wanted to take? You know, you got a death sentence. You're going to last what? They say 2 to 3 years. So why don't you do something? Grab life by the balls. Go out there. Kick ass. Like you're still healthy enough to do it. But, you know, this particular illness was 2 to 3 years. That was the diagnosis. Maybe 5 years max. But, you know, you're living life with a reduced quality of life. Ventilator, feeding tube, the whole deal. So this person kept saying, I'm going to wait to get better to book that vacation. All right. So looking at reality. There's the reality of the situation. The reality is the person was diagnosed with an incurable disease. Now, I might look at it like, hey, go out there and grab life by the balls. Do everything you can while you can still do it. And another person will say, I don't want to face that so-called reality. I'm going to carry hope with me. God bless. I mean, you know, certain miracles happen. Maybe, maybe they do. And hopefully they do. Don't get me wrong. But I'm talking about a really incurable illness. Cancer could go either way, right? Sometimes they could say it's incurable, the person can come back. But I'm talking about neurological, incurable, it'll get worse until you pass. It ain't getting any better, all right? So that person who's going through it, who's, to me, in complete denial, that's, you know, if that's what they choose, because obviously they know there's an objective truth. If they choose not to face it, that's their choice. But I can tell you this, just from my observations, again, very close to me. Watching the person get worse and worse, not daily, like you're not going to see the differences daily, but over time, and saying that they wanted to do all these things and never doing them, and being unable to do them by the end, of course, right? Gave that person a ton of regrets. I saw it, I heard it. Person expressed that, and it hurt my heart. And sometimes you don't have to go through an experience to learn from it. Sometimes, again, if you're empathic, or, you know, empathic, if you're human, you know, sometimes you can learn from somebody else's experiences. Okay? So, getting back to after the mobbing and the idea of truth. Looking at truth, looking at the fact that you were treated like crap, you were rejected by your peers, a whole bunch of people, You sometimes allowed yourself to be treated badly. You didn't assert yourself. Brings on, and for me, it brought on feelings of guilt, and I was ashamed of myself, and I felt lonely, and it was a really ugly feeling. And I kept looking outward, like outwardly, saying, what can I do to be accepted? What can I do to have people like me? Why are they doing this to me? It's almost like this victim-y mentality. And I'm not saying that it's wrong or right or anything. It just was that. I'm talking about, like I said, how I felt about the whole thing and how I feel about it today. It's a little bit different. I had to start to look inwards to understand why I'd been mobbed 3 times, why I chose to be a bystander 2 times within this 7-year period. Okay? What the costs and benefits were to having, like I said, this last time, having taken a stand versus burying my head in the sand. So I'll tell you this. One of the benefits, and I'm going to speak from today's perspective, is the fact that, my God, I've always been an honest person, but I was willfully blind for a number of years because I felt desperate to keep my job. And it wasn't because I couldn't get another job. I had made excuses for why I wasn't moving forward in my life. Trying to fit in with a crowd, making this much money, having that kind of house, having that kind of car. In the end, it's not that important to me. I realize it's important to some of y'all. It's all good. Don't get me wrong. But to me, it was really of little importance. It never had any importance. But I was just trying to fit to be like everybody else. Instead of saying, I'm not like everybody else. This job just isn't made for people like me or a person like me. Look around, right? Everybody's competing to, get a couple of extra crumbs or a title or whatever. I found it silly. But there I am, part of it. So fighting back this last mobbing, like taking a stand, gave me a feeling of empowerment on the immediate. Stepping away from the workplace after I was threatened by my boss, basically when I unmasked the narcissist, right? And he gave me a nice little threat, basically saying that you think that's bad, it's going to get worse. That's when I decided it was enough. I had had enough, and I was in pain. Like I said, I had a lot of physical pain, but I had more than physical pain. I had mental anguish and emotional anguish and spiritual anguish as well. But I was concentrating on the physical part of it all right? So that's when I took a leave. I took a leave, got my doctor's note, the whole deal. It gave me time to reflect, do a lot of reflection on the externalized factors, all right? What concerned other people. And after about a month, that's when I started looking inwards and saying, you know what, it's not just about them. There's something about me. So what is it about me? So I started doing some soul searching. You start to discover certain things about yourself. After having stuck your head in the sand for so many years, not so easy. So I started seeing how maybe sometimes I could be very annoying to certain people. And the reasons why. One of them is, again, I have an outspoken nature. And that's just who I am. And I wasn't fully owning it. Because I'd start to speak up, and then what's the point? It's almost like I couldn't help myself. Now, I know people say that you could change certain things about yourself. You can. There's certain, however, traits that are what they are. You can modify your behavior, but you're still this, say, person who's high on honesty and sincerity. It's not going to lower because you've changed your behavior. No matter what they tell you in cognitive behavior therapy, your traits are what they are. So at some point, you got to do a bit of soul searching and own what those traits are. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Or you can choose not to do that. Continue to live an illusory life. Continue to stick your head in the sand. Not face your truths. Get mobbed again, maybe. Or be a bystander instead. You know what? Just to coast. Life's short. We don't have that much time on this planet. It's all borrowed time. So I have a certain philosophy that I've embraced very deeply say, it's a little less than a year now that I'm not at that workplace. I've embraced very deeply, and it's not self-brainwashing. It's absolute truth. I'm a salty, sweet kind of a person. I will say it like it is, and I like to say it like it is. If I know that I'm being taken advantage of, like recently, I had I had an issue with one of the people that I had contracted to do some work for me, who was dilly-dallying, taking their sweet time to accomplish things, trying to engage in conversation, doing everything and anything in their power to stretch out the work time. The specialized equipment costs a lot of money, right? Anyhow, I owned it and I got very pissed off. I chose to get pissed off. Now, it's not like you have to go black and white, but sometimes anger, it's not like anger is always bad. Sometimes it's okay. Anger is a bit of a warning signal to tell you something's wrong. And I'm of the philosophy that the only way you're going to achieve any degree of peace is not by keeping the peace, by saying, I'm going to rise above. No, man. Sometimes you got to get down and dirty, speak your mind strongly with conviction and belief. Say it like it is. And no matter, and of course, I'm getting demonized again. Oh my God, she freaked out. Sure, she freaked out. She had a bloody reason to. And I'll do it again. And that's just the way it is. And that's the way it's going to be. All right? So, and it's not being a mean person. It's being kind to me. It's being who you are, owning it, and not allowing people to step on your feet and cross your boundaries. Now imagine if all of us would do this. If everybody was self-aware and knew when their boundaries were being crossed, that they'd take a bite back. Now, sometimes it's worth engaging in a little bit of a fight. Say, yeah, if there's money involved, there's something of the sort, and somebody's trying to take advantage, don't let them do that. If it's at a workplace and somebody's trying to cross your boundaries and I'm going to take the high road, well, that's your choice. It's going to happen all over again. You have to put a stop to certain behaviors sometimes. But yes, you've got to be aware of what the consequences might be. You have to do a cost-benefit analysis as far as I'm concerned. Right? Now, demonize, not demonize, the opinion, reputation. Reputation carries way too much weight in our society. It really does. Okay? I understand it has to. I mean, say you need references for a job or whatever the case may be. So I understand the whole reputation thing. People polish that stuff like crazy. Character. Character is something that's way more important than reputation, but that's me. That's what I see. You might see it all differently, and that's okay too. But if you really think about it, is it more important what people think of you or what you think of you? Now, if there's a congruency between the two, God bless. God bless. That's a beautiful thing. All right? But to be in this life and be passive just to not make waves and keep your reputation sparkly clean. Trust me, always somebody's going to have something negative to say about you anyways. What you think of yourself is the most important thing. Or, some people think certain things that are, to me, entirely illusory. Almost to the point of being annoying. They try to explain away reality without looking at themselves. They always look at the external factors. Right? And I got to tell you, and again, I'm, half a century old. And here I am on this planet. I'm still learning. It's not like I got it all together. Oh, far from it. And I'm working, like I said, I'm working really hard, but I'm loving every minute of being my own boss. It feels liberating. I should have done this a long time ago. I already had something that happened in my life, interrupted that little course, and then I just put my head down. It was a mistake, but what mistake? I learned. Am I ashamed of it today? No, I gotta own it. The moment you start to own stuff, the whole idea of guilt and shame and negative self-talk goes out the window. I couldn't do better because I didn't know better. I do it today. So today I have a responsibility that I didn't have yesterday. I got a responsibility to myself. Bit all over the place, but I hope you caught something good from it. Just the beginning. I'm going to hone the ideas down a little bit more, but I just wanted to come out with a little after the mobbing. Start to look inwards. It's not just about the others. It's about knowing yourself. In the moment that you know yourself and you know what the others are like, certain behaviors become predictable and you can avoid a lot of the pitfalls. I'm not saying you're going to avoid the mobbings and you're going to avoid people hating on you. I'm not saying that. But it'll be a choice. Do you stand for your character? Are you more concerned about reputation? Knowing also that you cannot change certain traits are what they are. Food for thought. Have a great day. Foxy B, signing off.